Good evening. So nice to have all of you here tonight on that beautiful Friday, which is again Art After Dark. That's mean the museum is open until 10 to the whole community with a lot of activities, including a student fashion show and a wonderful public program, but also a special program tonight for a friend of contemporary art and a friend of the photo collectors group, welcoming two amazing artists who gave us the pleasure and the privilege to come to visit us in Florida. And I'm already off script, by the way, so that's typical of me. But I'm going to go the other way, but at the end, I always manage to cover everything for my team. But you know, the most incredible thing is 40 years ago, they had a show here at the Norton. And I learned from Pam Perry. Pam Perry is the head registrar. A registrar is the person who takes care of the whole collection. Pam has been 44 years with the Norton. She is the envy of every museum director around the country because she's known as the best registrar. But then she told me, do you know they had an exhibition here? And we had to take the whole collection down and so on. And we went on and on. And Pam this morning met Gilbert George again 40 years after. And it was kind of a very, very special. So it's not the first time they're here. And it's not the last time for sure. And we are so excited to welcome them again. So now I need to put my glasses because I don't see anything. So I want to thank the Board of Trustees. We have many of them today. Without the trustee, again, we cannot really do our work. And we have a Chairman Circle member, Contemporary and Modern Art Council member, and Photography member. And I want specifically to thank Irene and Jim Karp, who are chairing the Contemporary group, and also Ellen Sothno, who I know is here, who is chairing the Photo group. So they've been doing so much for the whole museum, and I want really to thank all of you. Again, as I was mentioning a few minutes earlier, sorry, I need to undo the phone. Sorry, I just heard it blinking. I want to thank Y-Cube and specifically Daniela Garrett. Daniela, many of you know her, and if you don't, you will. Where is she? She's over there. You know, there's the art world is extraordinary. You have, of course, the artist. You start with the artist. And you have people who help the artist to really become who they are. And then you have the gallery who, of course, promote the artist. And then you have the curator who get in and really discover the artist and make them also becoming part of collection. And of course, I used to work in the auction. The auction world is there too. So all of us together, we all work for, in one way, to support creativity on art. Some of them for profit, some of them non-profit. It's not about the point, it's about creativity. And tonight is a perfect example because if you look in this audience, oh, sorry, I forget the most important, the collector. Oops. So without the collector, you don't have a market. So let's be very clear here. But you're all around the year. You help as collector, as curator. Oh, okay, I don't know what's going on there, but and all of you together really make this very dynamic world of art to be really an amazing place. So thank you, Daniela, for giving us a call and telling us about what was going on. It's always a pleasure to collaborate with you and your team. Great team to collaborate with. And thank you to Michael Rooks, who is going to be really helping us to make this evening so special. And I will introduce him in a second. Gilbert and George, I may say, don't need introduction, but they really are two people. Then they are two people, but they are one artist. And they first met in 1967 while studying sculpture at St. Martin's School of Art in London. And for over 50 years, they have explored the world as subject matter, positioning themselves as living sculpture and shaping a wholly unique vision where art and life become one. Their body of work boldly addresses shifting social values and challenges, and they challenges the taste of and convention of contemporary art. Gilbert and George have been prominently exhibited in nearly 250 international exhibitions, spanning from artist project to solo retrospective. Just this month, both of them opened the Gilbert and George Center in London, near their home and studio, to showcase the archive and immense collection of work of art created by them, and advance public education in the art, architecture, heritage, and culture. So we really are thrilled to have them with us tonight and to welcome them and celebrating their incredible legacy. Michael Rooks, who's going to monitor and really talk tonight with us. Michael is the Wieland family curator of modern and contemporary art at the Haight Museum in Atlanta. Michael joined the Haight in 2010, and he also served as commissioner and co-curator of the U.S. pavilion at the 12th International Architecture Exhibition at the Venice Biennale in 2010. He was a committee member of ACP Art, President Obama's initiative, bridging contemporary art and social action. Since joining the Haight Museum, the collection over there has grown in contemporary art specifically, and in more than 25%, and he has developed and managed more than 40 exhibitions, including Alex Katz, this is now Cow, Downtime, and 2 exhibitions in partnership with MoMA, Picasso to Warhol, 14 Modern Masters, and Fast Forward Modern Moments, 1913-2013. Prior to joining the Haight Museum, he held a curator position at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago, the Contemporary Museum in Honolulu, and the Honolulu Academy of Art. One last thing before welcoming our speaker tonight, I wanted to acknowledge one of our trusty collector, generous donor who passed away, Howard Ganek, because we have a fabulous Gilbert and George photo on view in the gallery, and that was part of the gift for Mr. Ganek. So every time we have a way to thank him for his generosity and his family, we do it. And tonight is to celebrate Gilbert and George. So please join me to welcome Gilbert and George and Michael Rooks.
Wieland, thank you for that kind introduction. Gentlemen. It is a genuine honor for me to be here with these 2 gentlemen and to be in such a magnificent setting. You have an extraordinary museum, and I think you all should be congratulated, as should your director, who's fantastic. So, this evening, I'm hoping we might find some answers to the eternal question that Michael Bracewell posed in his book, What is Gilbert and George? And so I think to do that, we need to begin at the beginning. I guess we'll go to the place where you were born. Maybe you were both from rural settings. Gilbert, you were born in the Dolomites Mountains in Italy, and George from Plymouth, a coastal town called Plymouth. And so, as 2 bumpkins, self-described bumpkins, how is it that you came to find yourself in the center of the metropolis, the great capital?
I think we were very lucky baby artists that we arrived in London and at St. Martin's School of Art at a moment when it was a kind of center of the universe. It was the beginning of people saying free love and anything goes. And we were very proud and very arrogant and maybe quite badly behaved, but it was our beginning.
Yes, and I had this vision when I was in what they call Munich in Italy, that I wanted to be in London where it was happening.
Right.
And that was on the top floor of St. Martin's School of Art. And who was there? George.
St. Martin was literally the school.
It was an extraordinary art school, unbelievable.
Right.
There were television crews from countries I've never heard of filming in the studios. We were very, very impressed.
So did you begin at St. Martin's in 67, or was it the year prior?
I think we were leaving St. Martin's in 67, 68.
68.
Okay.
We only did 1 year there, and we realized that our world was outside St. Martin's School of Art.
Right.
We realized that we could be the art.
And we realized that most of the art that our fellow students and of our teachers were creating, if it was removed from the school and put into the street outside, it would have very little or no meaning, because formalism was the name of the day. Angles, shapes, corners, circles, rectangles, triangles, corners, it was all to do with form. So anything to do with what we believed in, which was content, we wanted an art that would deal with death,
Hope,
life,
fear,
sex,
money,
race,
religion,
shitty,
naked,
human,
world.
and so on and so forth.
So you came together. I'm sorry, George, please.
So we wanted to create an art that we could take out anywhere in the world, and that it could address anywhere, anyone, wherever they lived, and whatever their educational or religious background. It would be an art for all. That was our very early slogan, art for all. An art that didn't alienate huge sections of society, which a lot of artists were doing. We wanted to be more inclusive.
It had to be emotional. And he had to be human. And it was extraordinary.
And then we had enormous luck, you could say, because we had there was an opening of an international exhibition at the ICA in London. It was called When Attitudes Become Form. And it was a show that traveled throughout the world. And when it arrived in a city, a local curator was invited to add to the show. We knew it was coming to London, so we knew we would be added to the show. And to our amazement, the curator didn't include us. So we were cast into an enormous doom. This one opportunity to be discovered was passing us by, and there was nothing we could do about it. Oh, perhaps there was something we could do. Yes, we gate crashed the private view as living sculptures, and of course entirely stole the show. And at the end of the evening, a young man came up to us and said, "My name is Conrad Fischer. You exhibit with me in Düsseldorf, huh?" And this was the leading contemporary dealer of our generation in the whole world. So it was an amazing piece of art.
But not only that, we managed to do the living sculpture with metallized heads. We really looked like a real sculpture.
Right.
And it was enormous success. We just stood in the corner there and untouchable. Yes.
So was that the birth of the living sculpture, or were there
That was the beginning,
earlier
roughly,
iterations?
of the living sculpture that evening. And when Conrad Fischer said he wanted to do something in Düsseldorf, then we went to Düsseldorf. We did the singing sculpture in the Düsseldorf Kunsthalle. It was extraordinary. Overnight, all of Europe in some way knew about us standing on a table and singing underneath the arches.
And then because of that, we took the singing sculpture to other places in Europe. We took it to Brussels on one dreary evening to what we now call a pop-up gallery. And it was a very inauspicious evening, not particularly well attended, but it was a beginning and we were very pleased. And then at the end of the evening, a little old, we thought she was an old lady. We were probably older than she was at the time. A little old lady came up to us and said, "My name is Ileana Sonnebend. I'm opening a gallery in New York, and I want you to do the first exhibition." That was an amazing invitation that every artist would have died for. Yeah?
Incredible.
So Conrad took us to Europe, and Ileana took us to North America. It was extraordinary.
They saved us.
Tell us about the Stones concert, since we're talking about the birth of the living sculpture. I think that's an interesting anecdote as well. You sort of gate crashed the Rolling Stones concert as well.
We did that. We went, yes, it was in Hyde Park. We went there with our metallized heads and did one big walk. You know? And everybody came up to us asking us for living questions about God and everything, how to behave. To masturbate or not to masturbate was very important at that time.
It was extraordinary. It was the age of the kaftan. All young people wearing kaftans, and they were sitting on the green with their knees up and masturbating under the couch. It was very normal. It was part of swinging London to do that. Yeah.
So what was your answer then, I assume, to masturbate?
Go ahead and do it.
So as the living sculpture in that instance, you actually did communicate with your audience verbally.
Yes.
Yeah.
We realized we wanted to create an art that could speak to the viewer, that art consisted of the friendship formed between the viewer and the pictures, the art. And I think leaving St. Martin's, that was the next stage, to actually leave the college. And unlike most art students who left college or St. Martin's, they all had part-time teaching jobs, or they were looking for grants or subsidized studios. Nothing like that was available to two people. And so we were very much alone, and we wandered the streets of London And we were amazed at the triumph of the Western world, the free world. We found all of these tube stations and railway stations and police stations and palaces and pool halls. And we were amazed. And then we walked to a part of London where there was a utopian housing estate, very, very beautiful, with wooden props in the gardens to hang the washing out for the people in the flats. And on the top of them were beautiful birds by Royal Dalton. It was an extraordinary, beautiful, strange place we found. And in front of the flats, there were some retail premises. There was a newsagents and tobacconists and a shoe shop. And then we found a shop selling all of the detriments of human life. When you leave a flat, you always leave something behind. And this shop sold all of these leftover things. And there was a pile of gramophone records. And the top record we looked at, it was called Underneath the Arches. And we knew what that meant because we were living in the East End. We were surrounded by 3 major hostels for damaged people, many damaged by the First World War, left over, a larger number damaged by the Second World War. They were tramps or alcoholics or damaged people. And another big group damaged by the sex laws pre-decriminalization of 1967. And so Underneath the Arches felt that was true for that huge group of people. And we took the record home. We found a friend who had a machine to play it. And we were amazed by the words because it told a certain truth, a certain sadness and beauty that we still believe in today is part of how you feel if you want to be a human person in a city. And the words were, "The Ritz I never sigh for. The Carlton they can keep. There's only one place that I know, and that is where I sleep. Underneath the arches, I dream my dreams away. Underneath the arches, on cobblestones we lay. Every night you'll find me, tired out and worn, happy when the daylight comes creeping, heralding the dawn. Sleeping when it's raining, and sleeping when it's fine. La-dee-dee-dee-da-da-da-da-da. Pavement is my pillow, no matter where I stray. Underneath the arches, I dream my dreams away. And there we find. And that gave us a wonderful direction. It was a certain truth and a certain understanding that sent us on our way in a very, very good direction.
Right. Universal truths. I mean, those lyrics express universal truths that apply to all of those communities you were describing with whom you lived.
Yes.
On Fournier Street in Spitalfields. But you alluded to the 1967 Decriminalization Act, which meant that it was okay to be gay in the UK in 1967. Did that further marginalize you both I think you were out of or just leaving St. Martin's, but within your community of colleagues and contemporaries, did that further?
No, I think we were rather above all of that.
Right.
I think most of our friends and ourselves were busy decriminalizing ourselves long before they did. No, we never saw that big idea of gay and straight. We always think
it's just sex. That's about it.
We never went to a bar where somebody said, I feel homo horny tonight, or I feel hetero horny tonight. You just feel horny.
But there are many levels of diversity or adversity, rather, that you described in living with your neighbors and those individuals who live in the streets and who were damaged by, you name it.
They inspired us in some way. It was quite extraordinary.
Right.
Interestingly, all of those tramps and lost souls have all gone. They're all passed away. But they've been replaced by another group who are also very disadvantaged and in quite a difficult position in life, but they also have something very endearing about them. And we used to feel fond of the old damaged tramps in the hostels. And the new group is also something very sweet about. They're a younger group, and of course they're drug addicts, but they have a life, and one wonders what their parents would think, and one wonders about their life in general. And there's something very nice about them as well, I must say. We were very touched. We were walking down the main street of our district a month or so ago, and one young drug addict came along the pavement towards us with torn trousers and some awful blood coming out of his ear or something. He looked so sad and lost. And as he came along, he instantly recognized us and made a comment on our art, which was very sweet. He said, "I like the shit ones best." and we laughed, and then we went home and cried, because it's both, isn't it? It's both, everything.
So in your work, for me, you have this uncanny ability to project psychically into other ways of being, which we've just heard a great example of this ability of sort of projecting oneself, or rather empathy, I suppose, is a word. But being able to see and feel and think in terms of those individuals with whom you live and meet, and who have suffered adversity,
of course,
in many ways.
We wanted to do a kind of human art because of that. We wanted to be like everybody else, human. And that was what you call the art for all message that we tried to create for ourselves. And it was quite extraordinary at the beginning how we were able to create this idea of two men in one sculpture, the living sculpture, and going outside and succeeding in speaking to everybody.
Right.
Through our images and all the stuff, we were able to speak to a lot of people.
And of course, London was a very, very different place in '67 to what it is now. England is a very different, the world is a very different place from 1967 until now. And it's an enormously better place. We think we're all spoilt brats. Never have so many people had so many advantages. It's extraordinary. The great success of the Western world, we think, is extraordinary.
So given the radicality, I mean, it's quite radical what you just described in 1967, especially at St. Martin's, which is this incredibly formalist school, to be the art, your life, the way you conduct your life together became the art itself, for two people to become one work of art. And so would you say that Art for All became a rallying cry in a way, as opposed to like a motto or a slogan?
It all started once we left St. Martin's School of Art. Then we had this amazing vision that we could be one person.
Yeah.
But when we left it all behind in a good way. We never wanted to go back there again.
Right.
Because we created something completely new for them, and they didn't even like it at that time. They said they didn't want us to succeed in some funny ways because it was so different.
And then we enjoyed an enormous success within the art world. I remember we went at the late Ileana Sonnenben's request to New York and did the singing sculpture, and that was such a success. It was the first time the galleries had moved downtown. It'd always been in the uptown district. And most of the experts and people in the art world thought it was a very interesting idea, moving the galleries down to this rather run-down district. And maybe in a year or so it will catch on. No, that one Saturday it caught on. It was an overnight enormous... People walked from uptown in their masses all to come downtown. There was a police helicopter hovering over West Broadway because they were worried why so many people were suddenly in that rather run-down district. The authorities came into the 320 West Broadway building. They thought there were too many people for safety in the building. It was an extraordinary success.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Well,
we were, happy beyond belief. We couldn't believe it.
Right.
People like us, why?
So let's talk about your milieu, the Fournier Street, Spitalfields, because it's historic. It's where you find all of the source material for your work. You have always found
the center of the world is Spitalfields.
A microcosm, right?
Yes.
We love that. We live in a French street built on a Roman cemetery. We're 2 minutes walk from the street called John Wilkes, who invented the free press, the first person who said press has to be separate from government. We're also a short walking distance from the tomb of William Blake and Daniel Defoe and George Fox, who invented the Quaker movement. Across the road from there are buried the Wesley brothers, who invented the second biggest group of Christians, of the Protestant group. So we believe in the past, present, and future rolled into one. We don't believe in just being modern or just dealing with this or that. It has to be past, present, and future within each picture that we create.
So you mentioned Bunyan's cemetery, which is in the nonconformist cemetery.
John Bunyan is there. I'd forgotten for a moment. Yes, Pilgrim's Progress.
Yes, that's what we are doing in some way.
The most famous, least read book, John Bunyan. It's very nice because it refers a little bit to the group of pictures we're showing in London at the moment, which are called the paradisical pictures. It's not that we think we're making pictures of paradise. The paradisical pictures deal with the thoughts and feelings that people have if they believe in the afterlife. And we're also dealing in those pictures with people who think it's a lot of nonsense. So we like to think we're dealing with equal courtesy to both groups of people. And of course, it's in Pilgrim's Progress. Pilgrim goes down to buy some bread in the morning from the baker's shop. And he goes in, and all the workers in the shop are tired because they've been up all night baking the bread. And they're middle-aged, nice ladies serving with the sleeves rolled up. They have flour over their hands. And he buys the bread, and then he realizes something very worryingly. He realizes that all of the people working in the shop have belief and faith in the afterlife. And he's incredibly jealous because he doesn't have that. And that's a very moving moment in Pilgrim's Progress. And it's nice that he's buried within walking distance of us. We like that.
So you yourselves are pilgrims in your work, this living sculptures.
Yes, we call it.
As seen in the pictures, as well as in the singing sculpture and in the postal sculptures and in the word sculptures. Your role is that of the pilgrim who takes us, the audience, through from hell to paradise and back.
To damnation, yes.
Yeah.
No, it is an amazing journey. It has been extraordinary journey, battling the whole way along. You know? And we managed to succeed again and again in doing that and reviving it all in different ways. Yeah. It is amazing, unbelievable. And we were able to, this vision that we had, we were able to invent how to make the vision. Yeah. That we created these kind of, pictures to speak for us. That was quite an amazing invention, that we were speaking for our messages were able to be put on the wall. And we did 3,000 pictures we did.
There was the difficulty at first that we both come from the countryside, and our early art shows that. We didn't find a way immediately of becoming city artists, which is what we always wanted to be. So the early pictures and the early charcoal on paper sculptures deal with nature. And then we realized that it was something we had to leave behind. We had to become modern, urban, up-to-date artists. We didn't want any. We felt nature was the enemy.
Yeah? You know how that happened?
To leave it behind.
Yes, you know how that happened? And then, because we managed to sell one artwork. In 71, for 1,000 pounds. After that, we did the drinking sculptures again and again.
With the success of selling this work,
yes.
You could buy Gordon's.
Start to drink, and then we make the drinking pieces. No?
In that way, we were able to leave the countryside behind. Very good.
And then
the other story is that we were invited to visit a friend who lived in the country, in the west of England, miles and miles away. And at that point, we were actually against the nature. We still went because we were socially obliged. And we went and we arrived. And we stayed at a hotel near our friend's house, and we woke up in the morning very early because it was so quiet. We were living in London, and you don't have quiet mornings in that way. And we got up and we walked through the little high street of this very pretty village, and it looked so idyllic and so charming. You could hear insects, it was so quiet. And then we came to the top of the town, and there was a medieval parish church, very beautiful building with flowers in the cemetery. And we thought maybe we'd been wrong about nature. Maybe nature was very beautiful and very soothing. Maybe it should be part of our art and life. And then in front of the church, there was a young couple, a boy and a girl, with a pram and a small baby. And we thought, that's extraordinary. What an extraordinary world nature is. How charming, and we've been entirely wrong to be against nature. And we turned to the young couple and said, good morning. And the young man turned to us and said, fuck off, you weird-looking cunts. And then we knew nature is the enemy. Why is that funny?
I don't know. I don't know where to go from there. I think back. Let's go back to Bunyan for just for a moment, because Bunyan, the allegory begins in a dream, right? And for your work, I believe language is so important, and text is integral to what you do. And so this is a great dissertation topic for anyone who might want to write a dissertation on your work, just connecting these dots, because the Flanagan and Allen song, Underneath the Arches, they dream their dreams away, right?
Yes.
So do you think the worlds that you create describe reality, or a reality that is more poetically truthful than the real?
Do you mean our titles or the words in general?
The works in general.
Yeah. How would you say, Gilbert?
I would call it the journey. Whatever is in front of our feet, we are doing every day. We are opening the door of Fournier Street, and what is out there, that's what we see. And that's what we inspires us in some way to make the walk,
Right.
The living walk that we are doing, that creates everything.
People say, what is your inspiration, or who is your inspiration? We say we buy a newspaper in the morning, and we see the 6 o'clock news in the evening before going to dinner, and we can feel the pain and the joy of the world turning. There's enormously bad behavior there,
Right.
and enormous kindness as well. And what could be more inspiring than that? The pain and the joy of the world turning. What else do you need to think about and feel
We
about?
had the bad behavior as well, not only the other ones.
There's nothing wrong with bad behavior.
I was reading Shakespeare, As You Like It, the other day, because why not? And I was thinking about meeting you again. It's been so long. And I found a quote. May I read this quote? Because it seems to, for me, be so important to what you just described about your walks. Is that okay? So the quote is, "Sweet are the uses of adversity, which, like the toad, ugly and venomous, wears yet a precious jewel in his head. And this our life, exempt from public haunt, finds tongues in trees, books in the running brooks, sermons in stones, and good in everything." So this, to me, is so speaks to your work. This is William Shakespeare.
Oh.
Another countryman.
We always use William Shakespeare and Vincent van Gogh to say there is no greater force in the world than the force of culture. The free world, where we're free and safe, wasn't arranged by the policeman, it wasn't arranged by the priest, it was arranged by culture. And you can go anywhere in the world and prove that by stopping a complete stranger and saying, Charles Dickens. Whether they've read a book or not, that man will speak from the grave. You can say, Vincent van Gogh. They don't have to have seen an exhibition to be filled with the life of that dear, long dead man. The power of culture. We feel very responsible and very concerned with that aspect of modern life.
And you've always expressed this ability to find beauty and poetic expression and meaning in the downcast, the cast aside rubbish on the street or chewing gum on the street.
I love it.
And
everything is fantastic in a way. Life is extraordinary, for us at least. And even where we live is fantastic. And the journey is fantastic and amazing. And
so where do you find this incredible optimism that you've always had throughout your work?
because we want to win.
We want to win and be loved, like everyone else.
Yeah, very important to win, because they all told us that we wouldn't.
I think that's right. I agree with that. So maybe it's a good moment to talk a bit about the corpsing pictures which are on view right now at White Cube. Because there's a great deal of optimism in these works. It sounds counterintuitive, but in fact, as you said, each picture contains a world, and that world is optimistic, even as we're looking at images that deal with mortality, life and death, bones and flesh. So, sorry.
Bones are life. We're all walking around every day with our bones. We don't necessarily see bones as part of mortality.
Bones are every person that walks has bones.
You dance with bones. You make love with bones.
Yes.
They're there. And of course, in the pictures, we also show the soles of our shoes. And that's a little homage to the legendary Dick Whittington, who walked his way to London because he heard that the streets of London were paved with gold. He was very disappointed to find out that it wasn't true, but that he went on to have great success and become Lord Mayor of London. So he did it, not the streets. It was him and his walking and traversing the earth, something we all do every day. We're all traversing this globe from the bottoms of our feet around. We're all walking around this planet, and the pictures try to show that.
It is between living and bodies in some way, and it feels even that we are in baskets, like two naughty children, maybe, in a basket.
In a very tender way.
Yes.
Not in a morbid way at all, but in a very tender way.
And we went back to simplify the colors even.
Yeah.
Very few colors.
Right.
Red and yellow.
Because the corpsing pictures come after the paradisical pictures, which we are showing at the Gilbert George Centre in London at the moment. So it's always the connection to the next and what is next.
So the Gilbert George Centre opened a couple of weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Right. And this is the first permanent public installation of your work. So that must be incredibly exciting.
It's quite exciting because we realized that somebody comes to London, they want to see our works. Where would they go to see it? Maybe the Tate sometimes, but not all the time. And so we thought one way to do it, to create our own little museum to show them every time. We can change once a year the subject. We have the pictures, and it is magic. It's very near where we live, and they can feel the feeling of East End of London, how it is there.
So it's as much about your work as it is about London, right?
If people come from Venezuela or from Walsall, there'll always be a little corner of London where they can see our pictures, and it's very, very important for us.
And we have a lot of fans, I must admit that. They're coming from all over the place. Even when we opened, it was very shocking. They were flying in from America, Italy, France, all the Belgian people are the big collectors of us.
Everyone came. It was very exciting. It's only been open for 1 week, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So it's a beginning, but we're very excited to have our own Gilbert and George Centre.
And it contains, And the centre has about 500 works, I believe you said, right now?
Sorry?
At the moment,
I think, I don't know, it must be like 30 or 40 books.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And because there are 3 rooms that we have.
Mm-mm. And it's in the neighborhood.
And we're selling our own books. Just a new book came out of Wieland, and they're very exciting.
So it feels to me as if it is also a museum, a site for people to go to learn about Spitalfields, about the history of the city of London. This body of work at White Cube right now, in a way, does that is when you're talking about Dick Whittington, whose story seems uncannily, not unlike yours, someone who came from the country to this place, mythical place, and made it their own.
It's a place where you can sit and look at pictures quietly. And that's very, very important, we think, in a contemplative atmosphere.
And it is very beautiful. We designed the gates, the G&G gates to go in, the magic
It has
cobblestones to walk in there.
It has a little garden.
Yes.
So we were walking through the museum earlier today, and we saw a work that's in the collection now, which is fantastic,
Yes.
called Kitchener.
Yes.
So I thought maybe we just talk briefly about that before we take questions from the audience.
Oh, it's extraordinary looking back. There's pictures from, what date would that be?
Must have been 77,
78,
78 when
yes.
we did those pictures because, yes.
First group of individually titled pictures. If not, they were in groups and series, but suddenly they all had their own individual title. And it's very nice to see the portrait of the long dead General Kitchener in the foreground, and then the young person of the future side by side with us.
And it was quite exciting to have black people in art for the first time, because very few artists did that before.
Right.
It was totally different.
And that's something you were criticized for in some quarters, but also questioned for doing in the 70s. And
I think we won.
you did win.
we were rather amazed. For 10 or 12 or 15 years, almost every journalist, whether in Europe or North America or other places, the almost automatic question, why do you have black people in your pictures? It was such an ugly, awkward question.
Right.
And then we said, because we didn't leave them out.
Exactly. I think that's a good time, a good transition point for us to
Very good.
Welcome some questions from the audience.
And we have microphones for you if you wish.
Good evening. We have Child God from 1984
Extraordinary.
from Sonnabend. And my question to you is the colors are black, red, and yellow. And I see now in recent works you're using the same colors. Is there a reason for that?
The pictures always tell us about the colours. They tell us when to stop. We believe in forces outside of ourselves. And with making the corpsing pictures, the pictures wouldn't let us introduce any other colours, even if we'd have wanted to.
But black, white, and red always speaks to us. We can never leave it alone. That's really true. From the beginning,
that's where you began.
What you call is danger, no? Or look here, it means in some way.
A revolution.
Red is for love and blood and danger. Yellow in the Theosophical Society was the colour of highest intellect. We have quite an extensive library of theosophical books, the religion which said, let's all the people who are religious come together and make one religion. It didn't work entirely, but it was a very interesting 20th century approach.
Annie Besant, yes.
And Annie Besant and Charles Ledbetter, yeah.
Thank you.
It's fascinating.
Hi. I would like to know, how is the painting process? Do you start taking the picture and then are you both painting? How it works?
There are two ways of describing it. One is a very practical way, physically how you do it, but that doesn't say actually how it's arrived at, because it is largely a creative process, and that can never be described in words exactly.
I mean, we are taking the pictures. We never let anybody touch our work. We never did that. So every image that we use is taken by us. And then we are making what we call a composition. You know? We're doing a 10% design of the picture. And then we do the one-to-one. And then we choose the colors that we want to, what they should speak, what the picture should speak. We choose the colors.
May I ask a follow-up question really quickly? Do you have a role? Do you have a role, and do you have a role that's separate from yours in terms of making those decisions?
No, we're making this together, like a
machine.
It's quite easy. We know each other very well these days.
That's why the journalists say, do you ever argue? And we say, the great heterosexual question. No, from being baby artists, we never wanted to think about arguing or disagreements, because we believed the world was one big nightmare. Country to country, company to company, just a nightmare of bad behavior all over the world as we speak. And we don't want to be part of that.
So we are no arguing.
And
we know how to do it. It's quite extraordinary able to do it, because you can see how many pictures we did.
Are doing still.
It's an amazing journey.
And when we were baby artists, we were surrounded by artists who were very interested to be against things. They were against the war, or against America, or against the crown, or against the army. And we thought, we don't want to be against anything. Let's find and think and hope and love what we are for, and concentrate on what we are for. There are plenty of people looking after the other side of things. It was very good. It was very good. A few years ago, we did a series of banners where we tried to be more direct and more difficult. And I think we brought the list of the titles. They were huge sheets of paper, and we just wrote with a big brush very simply. And they were, the texts were, one was burn that book, another was fuck the teachers, another was make cunnilingus compulsory, God save the Queen, fuck the planet, fellatio for all, ban religion and decriminalize sex. And a few weeks after we'd had that exhibition, there was a knock at our door. Nobody knocks at the door anymore. Everyone rings bells. So it was rather quaint. It was lucky that we were around to hear the knocking. And we opened the door, and there was an elderly clergyman. He was probably older than we are now. And he was very polite, and he said, "I'm awfully sorry. I don't want to trouble you, gentlemen. I don't want to intrude or anything. I just wanted to come to tell you that I saw that thing you did called ban religion. I think it's marvellous, absolutely marvellous." And we thanked him for his interest and asked him if he could explain a little why he felt that way. He said, "Oh, it's very simple." He said, I still have my congregation every Sunday. I've been preaching now for more than 40 years. And my congregation are all very nice. They're very, very nice people. And many of them are friends of mine. And I've known many of them for years, and their families. And they're all very nice, but they're all very religious. And I don't really want them to be religious. I want them to be good. It was a very moving moment.
Yeah. We have another question to our left.
Yeah, hi. I wanted to know a very simple thing. What is your feeling about what is art today in the world that we're living in? And how is your feel about that in general? Where is it? Where are we going?
We never look at other people's art. We never did that. We realized that a long time ago that we wanted to be free from being inspired by art. We didn't want to. We wanted to be inspired by life, what is outside there, and nothing else. So we never, I think it must be 30, 40 years that we never went to the museum.
Mm. Or to a concert or a poetry reading. Or we gave up the cinema in 1978, I think.
Yes, we saw the Deer Hunter the last time, that's it.
Deer Hunter. we didn't want to be contaminated.
And it works. You are free. You are a free person. No? If not, everybody wants to tell you what you think of this, what you think of that. So
we like to free our heads for ourselves. That's why we go to the same restaurant every evening. So we don't have to bother thinking which restaurant to go to.
One shop every evening.
We have the same meal every evening because we don't want to. We love reading history. I love reading novels, but I find reading menus quite boring.
It's very exciting because we go in the morning, we leave at 6:30. We go for breakfast, 2 slices of marmalade toast. That's it.
I heard that you love to hug a waiter.
We love the
You love to hug a waiter.
All our waiters. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Journalists say, "Why do you go to the same restaurant every single evening?" I said, "We have a crush on several family members."
We have a question to our right.
I'm curious, when you are ready to start a painting, do you choose your text and your subject, or do you start to paint first?
Sorry. Can you say it again?
Can you tell us?
When you're going to do a painting, or
Artwork, yes.
artwork,
Okay.
Is it your text, the words that you're going to put onto the picture, or is it the picture itself that you do first?
You're doing the picture first.
Yeah.
And then we give it a title.
The title can come before or during or after.
But-
There's no real rule there.
But very important. The titles are very important to us.
We
Because
didn't
want-
like an art world where everything was untitled number 17, all these mysterious, alienating obscurities.
Yeah, good, the titles. We love the titles.
Every city has a name, every person has a name. Why shouldn't an art world have its own? So you can't have a library full of untitled books, right? It would be nonsense.
Right. Be hard to find what you're looking for. So, in a way, language that you're getting at, words are almost like sculptural form for you, and they function that way in the pictures.
The titles of the pictures are the nearest key to the area under discussion, roughly. Yeah? If you see a book called Murder at the Vicarage or Sex at the Vicarage, you know which direction is roughly the direction. A question?
How would you describe time in your artistic collaborative journey?
How do we describe
Time.
Time. Sorry, I didn't get it here.
In your artistic collaborative journey.
Oh, we never believe in collaborations. We don't believe we're a collaboration. We think that's a misunderstanding. We're two people, but one artist.
One artist. And it works.
Collaboration sounds too much like dodgy parts of the Second World War to me.
What was your question about time, specifically?
Time,
about
yes.
As time goes by, we are different people from the people we were when we were baby artists. We're different from what we were in 1980 or 1990. And that's why we never changed. We only evolved, as every person does. Everyone sitting here knows what it was like when they were 20 or 15 or 8.
But we are concentrating every single day to art. No?
Yeah.
Like we went once or twice on holiday. We never one day of art.
Right.
Because we are concentrated towards the magic end, maybe.
But you also addressed it a bit earlier this evening when you said that the past, present, and future are all
In one
It's
artwork.
very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Has to
even-
be part of it. And it has to be, everybody should be able to get something out of our art. That was very important. Not that eliminate a big part of society. No, some artists prefer to do it only for the very few.
Yeah.
And we never did that.
And there's a certain timelessness in what we see in the pictures, especially because the cut and style of your suits have remained the same. I mean, your bodies have changed, obviously, but what we see is rather
This
timeless.
changes.
Yeah.
Again, we
It is
started
changing in a big way. Yeah.
Again, we started out with suits because we didn't want to alienate any section of society. We didn't want to be the weird artist with a beard or a tobacco pipe or something eccentric. We wanted to be acceptable to anybody.
And it's extraordinary because everybody knows. No?
Yeah.
When we walk, they all know who we are. Even ordinary people that maybe never went to an museum, they all know about it. It's a meeting, creative feeling.
We're hardly ever searched at airports, and you can get a table at any restaurant in the world. and being recognized is very good. A few years ago, we had to go to Amsterdam because we had a meeting with the museum there. And suddenly we found we had two hours to spare before the flight home. And we love Amsterdam. We love the buildings of Amsterdam. So we thought, we're free, we can take a lovely walk. And we did a wonderful walk along the canals and the streets. And then we found ourselves walking down the street where all of the sex shows are. And outside all the premises, there's a tout trying to get people in. Yes, so we were passing, and then we heard one man saying, "Live fucky show starts in 5 minutes, only 12 guilders. Live fucky." Good morning, Gilbert. Good morning, Gilbert. Live show starts at 10. We thought, we've arrived. We've arrived. We got there.
We have another question.
So the grid as a framing device is so central to your work. And I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit more about your use of grids.
Red.
Yeah.
Red for blood, red for danger.
Grid.
No,
Red for revolution.
Grid.
The grid.
Grid with a G.
Oh, the grid. Oh, the grid is very simple.
Yeah.
It's the same as a book. You can't have a book with one page. It has to have a number of pages. And the pictures we make, most of them are too big to go onto an aeroplane to travel to another country. So in sections is very practical for us. They all divide up and come into boxes. And it's also rather like life. We all have a life, but you can't have just a life. It has to be divided into years and months and days. It's a true
and you
life.
can protect the work. That's very important.
Practical.
Because it's based on paper, so we cannot have enormous. How would you do it? No. Right. So framing it is one way of doing it, and we started that already. I must have been in 74, 75. First, we did scattered pieces, no.
Right.
No, and then we put them together in a system, a grid system that was in 74, and we kept to that system because it works. You can take it down and transport it, and protecting it. That's very good because it's quite delicate.
Right.
That's why we did it, and it's part of G&J in the end.
Yes.
Even they see the frames, they already know who did it.
And did you always call them pictures? I mean, this is a bit of a provocative term because even when I was in art school, I'm a failed painter. You never used the word picture, right?
We like to revive that word pictures because people think it's photography or something else, and we think they're just pictures.
I think we did it 30, 40 years ago. Before, sometimes they called it what they call photo pieces and something like that, but we stopped that. We didn't want that.
Yeah.
Photography is our second least favorite P word.
With that,
one last question.
Yes, of course.
Well, I asked ChatGPT for some questions, and one they featured was, your partnership and collaboration is a defining aspect of your art. Can you talk about the benefits and challenges of working so closely with another person for so many years?
So what are the benefits and challenges of working and living
so
as
closely
one?
With another person for so many years?
It's only good. It's amazing.
The whole world is divided into twos, including the animal kingdoms.
Even the dogs run away.
Do you think we're weird or something?
But it's unusual for two to function as one, right? I mean, it's a bit unusual.
Well, I thought couples all over the world are functioning as one, no?
It's very simple because when we started out in 67, 68, we were outsiders, and to succeed, we felt we had to be together.
Yeah.
And we did that.
Right.
It's a great force, two people.
Yeah. And we have a vision. The vision is one vision that is together. We created that, and we succeeded in that.
And faultlessly, I mean, over the course of your entire career, you've never strayed from that, which is remarkable. Because
we never went on holiday separate.
Well, it just speaks to the authenticity of your project, that you are and your life is what it is from outside in, inside out. Yeah. You are art. Your life is art.
Yes. That's why we were able to confound our enemies.
Well,
on that happy note,
I think yes.
Very good.
So thank you. Please join me for the wonderful round of applause for this unbelievable talk.
Thank you.
Yes.
George, thank you.
Thank you again. We are so grateful for your time tonight.